I need some advice from you, man. I am, as you can probably tell, failing here on this attempt, if you even want to call it that, of a beard. I really need some tips.
Um, I don't even know. Is eat your veggies a viable? Is that a viable one?
I think that's fair. We've been trying to get on top of that.
There
It's
we go.
winter now. It's cold. You gotta stay
That's true.
healthy.
Yeah, it's true. You
Anyways,
a beard is helpful this time of year.
yeah. Well, we're not doing too well. Might have to just get rid of it. Anyways, welcome back to the Rain Race podcast. It's been a long time since we've seen you. Actually, it's only been about 3 weeks, but it feels like a lot longer than that. Ever since our last episode, I went to the F1 Grand Prix in Vegas. Went for being a shill
Ooh.
with the overpriced merch, which is just comfy right now because it's freezing outside, as I'm sure it is for you. And then Thanksgiving in the U.S., and then we've been keeping busy with some other things around here. But so is the sports car racing rumor and news mill. So we had to pop in here, get a penultimate episode for 2025 in, and that's where you've got us for the next hour or so. How are things going with you tonight?
Oh well, you mentioned it's cold. It's cold here, and we've been getting hit with some snow. So it doesn't look like the roads are going to be that good tomorrow morning for anyone in Toronto. That's maybe they're listening to this in Toronto tomorrow morning as they're driving in, and to that I say Godspeed to you. But we're gathering up. The hot stove is nice and warm for us, so we have plenty to talk about tonight. It hasn't been a light news week the past week or so in the sports car racing world.
No, it has not. Ton of entries to talk about. We sort of had, as you'd expect, those the slow trickle of driver confirmations, team confirmations getting announced for 2026, and then eventually, as in the past couple of days, we've gotten confirmation of the full Rolex 24 entry list and the full 2026 WEC entry list. So I figured rather than giving you those bits and pieces as we hear them, let's just get them all in one episode right now. I think that'll be enough to cover it. We aren't going to talk about every single entry and every single driver because we'd be here for over 2 hours, and that's not. Whose mic is muted? Is somebody's mic muted?
No, I don't think so. Maybe it's
People are
me.
people are saying they can't hear me. Let's see.
I can hear you. Oh yeah, no, we got everybody. He's it's fine.
Oh,
Not
apparently I was on
not
mine. Okay,
muted.
that's good. If you can
Turn
hear
up
me,
that
that's
volume.
that's all that matters. Um, the question is, can you hear me through both ears? Because I only hear myself on one channel here. Let's try to make a quick adjustment while I do that. Uh,
Let's see. This
yeah,
is
that's what I figured. It's only going through one ear. Well,
all
that's
right. We
unfortunate.
got technical adjustments on the fly here. This is the perks of doing a live show. I mean, you can't make this stuff up when it's pre-recorded. Even though you might be listening to this pre-recorded show, if you're listening to it tomorrow when you're on your commute in Toronto with the lovely, lovely weather that we're having. Yeah, I can only hear on left.
How about an on the fly fix? If
Oh,
I try this now,
oh, you're good in both my ears now. I just assumed
there we go.
the headset that was bad, so I hear you. I hear you in both ears.
There we go. Keep us updated if we mess anything up. That's some quick on the fly troubleshooting, and we'll jump back into the regular talking points here. Yeah, as I was saying, don't want to spend the entire episode going over every single entry. That would take us forever. We are going to highlight on some of the notables, and we'll take it from there. If you have any questions that you want to ask, of course, drop them in the chat. We'll try to get to some of those at the end of the episode. Let's start things off here. Take a deep breath because we're going to start out with the 61 entry Rolex 24 entry list. Another capacity grid for the Rolex 24. Can't say, I guess, that we're too surprised. You'd really expect that nowadays with the interest that we've been seeing in this championship and this race the past few years. In fact, I don't even know the last time we didn't have a capacity grid at Daytona, but it's been at least a few years now.
Well,
Uh,
technically, I think we had 1 year, right, where we could have had 61. We had 60 because
well,
some,
because one
like,
dropped out.
yeah. So, but we're not gonna call that real. That wasn't real. That didn't happen.
Yeah. Well into the mid to high 80s for the number of teams that were interested in entering this race. That was something that came out, I think, today. And we got 4 classes to talk about. So, because I'm
Oof.
probably going to take the lead on some of the WEC stuff later on, let me give you the reins. Start things off here talking about the GTP class for next year's Rolex 24.
Yeah. So GTP. You mentioned 61 car grid for the Rolex. Got a little bit of. I guess this is kind of some of the final pieces to the puzzle for what our teams look like for next year. You mentioned a lot of driver lineups are being confirmed, but in GTP, this is a class where we're not seeing a lot of change. You of course you have some of the changes that we knew about, like WRT taking over for RLL, but unlike what we saw last year, where we had Proton as an entry for just the Michelin Endurance Cup rounds, as well as the Lamborghini SC63. We don't have any of that this year. We do have an 11 car grid that are going to be on the grid for every single one of the full races. So that is good to see. A good full grid that we're going to see across, down a little bit in numbers. If you want to, taking into account the loss of Proton, the loss of Lamborghini, but it's not the end of the world because we have the Valkyrie back for a full season. Technically, last year wasn't a full season. Um, but we do have lots of the drivers here confirmed. I had the sheet open with everyone that had been confirmed. I don't know if you have it open right now, but
I can save you on it. Yeah, one of the notable confirmations that we got recently was that of Porsche Penske Motorsport. Of course, interesting there. Of note, they won't be in the WEC next year. So a lot of questions were being raised about their driver lineup stateside for 2026. You will be seeing Lawrence Vantor, Kevin Estre, and Matt Campbell in car 6 for the 24, and in car 7, Felipe Nasr, Julian Anlauer getting that step up. The step over to the not WC, to IMSA, and Lauren Heinrich getting the step up to the Porsche Penske 963 after we've given him quite enough praise in the AO Racing GTD Pro entry in the past.
yeah, yeah. Porsche kind of combining their efforts. Of course, they've had to deal with a couple of drivers departing the program and some drivers sort of switching over. These were lineups that we knew there was going to be a lot of focus on them, especially given the news of recent weeks and what we'll talk about when we get to the WEC portion of the show. But yeah, Porsche kind of, again, just fielding 2 strong lineups, and for a lot of IMSA fans, you continue to see the evolution of Lauren Heinrich, and we're going to see that continue to unfold here in IMSA next year with his step up to the full time. I guess he's not a full season driver, is he? He's just an endurance cup driver, I believe. But stepping up to a more permanent role in that 963 after his strong running in the WC finale.
Yep.
We got to go through
Other
each one of these lineups, or just talk about some notables?
I don't want to talk about every single
Yeah.
driver. The entry lists are out. If you want to go review those yourself, it's
Yeah.
probably going to be better if you just look at the drivers in each lineup than us list all of them off. Um, you do have that new addition, of course. This is an IMSA full-time entry next year. BMW Team WRT pulling over for Team RLL. The only driver, to my knowledge, who's not really confirmed yet
Yeah.
is the 4th driver in the 31 Whelen Cadillac, but take a guess at who might be in that based on who was testing that car a few weeks ago at the middle end of November. I think you can probably expect to see Connor Zilich picking up the 4th seat there.
Yeah, might rhyme with Schmon or Schmilich. Yeah.
Yeah, potentially. He was on the show. I mean, that would be
True.
the first GTP driver that we've had on the show, and it's been you and I doing this. We had Ricky Taylor a while back, but that's notable at least.
True.
Um,
That was 2 years ago. Man, that
it
was.
was, yeah, that was. You want to talk about prime, like prime time to buy a stock? We had him on
Yeah,
the show right before his LMP2 debut with Era, back when he was MX5 driver Connor Zilic, and I guess those who knew at the time what he was about to turn into, but that was sort of the crux
monster.
of his career, and look at where he is now. So maybe we'll
A
try to have him back on someday. That'd be cool.
hopefully he doesn't get too big for us,
Yeah. I've
No,
stayed in
good,
touch. I've stayed in
good,
touch.
good. Yeah, I don't know if there's too many other notables here with the GTPs. I guess a couple that you could point out is, we already talked about AJ Allmendinger being in the 60 for the Rolex. Nico Pino in JDC. That's going to be an interesting one to watch. And we talked about Colton Herta as well, back with Cadillac now that he has returned. So yeah, I think we could probably move on to LMP2, right?
Sure, let's do it.
Cool.
LMP2. We
Yeah.
are up 2 entries from 2025. With the addition of the 343 Inter-Europol Orica for Daytona. That is a Daytona only entry. And the 88 AF Corsa Orica, which is taking part in the Michelin Endurance Cup rounds. That extra Inter-Europol entry, the driver lineup was announced for that. It's I'm going to butcher it, even though I should know this one. Jacob Shimikowski?
I think it's Jakub
Jakob
Schmickowski,
Shimikowski.
I believe.
Uh, George
I don't know
Kolovos.
if I'm the best one to give name,
Well,
for these names, but
yeah, George Kolovos, and I can get the last one, Nolan Siegel, rounding out the entry in that car. We do have a fourth driver listed as TBD there. To my knowledge, that is still to be determined. Um, but yeah, that's who you'll be seeing in that additional entry for Daytona. Apart from that, we're just seeing what we've seen already for the 2026 full-time IMSA entry list in LMP2, which is a slightly increased lineup for next year. I actually didn't make a note of how many cars we have. 14 LMP2 cars in the Rolex 24 next year, which really quite a big step up from where we were only 3-4 years ago when that class was sort of on the back burner. Now it's actually the highest populated class between the two prototypes.
now did you say that the 343 and the 88 were in for the Michelin Endurance Cup rounds?
To my knowledge, the
I
343 is only Daytona. The
Yes,
88 is Michelin Endurance Cup,
I thought
I
the
think.
88 was the same as only Daytona, but could
Is it?
be could be wrong on that. I don't know.
They
We
were
know
on the
how.
original. They were on um, the entry list that came out at Petit Le Mans, I think, as a
I don't
Michelin Endurance Cup entry.
I don't
Were they
remember.
not? Somebody
I
tell
don't know.
us.
Chat, help us out. Go back and check for us. I mean, we know how sports car racing things work, right? You could commit to the entire season and then you're gone after 2 rounds. Like we've seen that plenty before. And then we've also seen the opposite where you commit to, the first round of the season and then you end up adding things on as the season goes along. So I mean, things are still pretty fluid at this point. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of shuffling that's gone on here in LMP2. Virtually every team has had driver changes or we have new teams entirely that have come and entered the fold. Maybe the only one that's really stayed the same is the championship winner from last year in Spike. But otherwise, looking up and down this entry list, it's there's a lot of familiar names and a lot of familiar names that have changed scenery. So I guess the 04 crowd strike, another one that's stayed pretty similar, but I think you get what I'm talking about. There's been a lot of shuffling around here. It'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of testing that goes into the lead up to the Rolex with the roar testing and everything the week before. But you got to think that some of these drivers and teams and programs that have been together for a few years, might they have just that little bit of a slight edge heading into the Rolex? A race that requires you now to be basically perfect for 24 hours and doesn't have any room for mistakes. Could be interesting to watch for with so many changes in LMP2.
Yeah, and shout out to ESR Sports Cars in the chat for reminding me. Nick Cassidy was actually confirmed as the fourth driver in that 343 yesterday morning. So nice to see some top flight hypercar experienced driver jumping over to LMP2 in Daytona, of course, with his signing to Peugeot in 2026. Yeah, I'd echo a lot of what you said. There's a lot of talent, not just in the full season, but especially for this race, hopping over for the Rolex 24. Unfortunately, I say the one unfortunate thing with the GTP class right now is with the loss of Proton, and I'd say the same thing about the WEC, there's not a whole lot of privateer presence in that class. And what I really wish we'd see still, and I get why we don't, but we don't really see a lot of one-off GTP entries in the Daytona 24 like we used to. Back when LMP2 was in the top class, you'd have Rebellion come over. I guess Rebellion would run the Michelin Endurance Cup races, or at least they'd run Daytona and Sebring. Did they run? No, they only ran Daytona, now that I think about it. We aren't sort of seeing that anymore. I know people would love to see Toyota come over or a Ferrari come over just to do that 24. It's
Yep.
far enough in advance. Of course, they'd have to commit to the fall test as well at Daytona if they wanted to do that. What that does mean, though, is you have a lot of drivers who are top class drivers over in the World Endurance Championship who are looking for a ride. And a lot of those drivers are ending up in LMP2 cars. And it's just great to see that.
It is. It's going to just make for a more fun Rolex for us. And like you said, we're up a couple of cars from last year, I believe, right? We're up two from
Yeah.
12 to 14, I think you said. So even though we're down a couple in GTP, to see those entries reallocated to LMP2, we've seen some great battles here, of course. You go back just a couple of years ago with that, side-by-side finish in LMP2. I think should be a fun battle to watch.
Definitely keep your eyes on it.
GTD Pro time.
It's time.
GTD Pro. What a treat we are going to be in for at not only the Rolex, but also full season. We do have 15 cars in GTD Pro, which is the same number of cars that we had last year. But we do only have 9 full season entries. So we're down some full season entries from last year, but some of these one-off or Michelin Endurance Cup only entries certainly make up for it. You do only have just one entry from Paul Miller Racing this year, just the one BMW that's going to be represented in this GTD Pro class, which for a lot of people is a bit of a downer. But regardless, at least we still get to see Paul Miller Racing duking it out with the best of the best here in GTD Pro. You're gonna have the 2 Corvettes. That's one of the easiest things to guess.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's just lock it in. You also have the 9 Pfaff Motorsports Lamborghini. Of course, they're going to be running the Huracan for the Rolex 24 only before switching over to the Temerario for Sebring. You have the 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus, an all-star lineup that's going to be running in that car. Jack Hawksworth, Ben Barnicoat, and Kyle Kirkwood, the confirmed drivers there. Like last year, they did a little bit of a split away from breaking up some of those drivers between their GTD Pro and GTD entry. They got the crew back together for the 14 this year. You also have the 033 Triarci. That's going to be a Michelin Endurance Cup only entry. The 48 Windward Racing Mercedes. How many times have we mentioned that we want to see Windward in GTD Pro? It is right now only 100% confirmed for the Rolex. It's also believed that they'll be on the grid at Sebring, though. And then who knows? Maybe they can piece something together for the Michelin Endurance Cup rounds with that car. I don't think anybody would complain about seeing that. We do also have the 59 RLL team McLaren that's joining the grid. Good to see McLaren is going to be back and represented on the IMSA grid, and good that RLL has found a way to stick around in one of the pro classes at that as well. Reese will be there as well with a Michelin Endurance Cup only effort. You're going to have the two 64 and 65 Ford Multimatic Motorsports Mustangs. The 69 Get Speed is just a Daytona only entry. You have the 79 Express Racing Mercedes for the Michelin Endurance Cup rounds, and notably in that car for Daytona is Will Power. So we do get to see Will again kick around
Is
in that car.
don't disrespect Supercars champion
Ch-
Chaz Mostert in that car as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was he ran his first IMSA race back at Indy last year. So continuing on with that 75 Express racing effort, Rexy, you want to talk about a bit of a lineup shift here? Everybody will recognize the infamous Nick Tandy, who is going to be spearheading as one of the full season drivers in that car. And then finally, we have a new team to the IMSA grid. I guess technically they've run before, but in a partnership with other teams. This is their own entry, and it is the number 911 Porsche from Manti. So going to quite a few heavy hitters there in GTD Pro. It's man, we always say that GTD Pro is a treat, and this season looks to deliver on that again.
Well, yeah, it's probably the story of the race from the Rolex this year. As you said, a lot of heavy hitters in that class right now. I know it's not supposed to be like a factory GT class, even though it kind of is turning into that a little bit. I mean, we have some factory-ish teams mixed in with some of the more customer programs, but regardless, across the lineup, you do have a ton of talent there. A couple of notables I wanted to make note of: the Get Speed Mercedes. Number 69 car is going to be in a partnership with Bartone Brothers Racing. So if you remember
Yes.
that black Mercedes from the Rolex this year, they'll probably be sporting a similar look for 2026. I wanted to make another comment. It just left me, and that's how it is. RLL Team McLaren, as you said.
Yeah.
We talked about that last episode, a surprise entry to me, just based on the fact that you are seeing Marvin Kirchhofer racing in the number 3 Corvette.
Yep.
Nonetheless, great to see RLL represented, as you mentioned. Great to see McLaren back on the grid. Hopefully a better season for them than they had last time out with FAF in the GTD Pro class. A lot of variety here, a lot of fun. And I was going to make note of it later when we talk about the WEC, but I'll just bring it up now. It is the 10th season for the Lexus RCF GT3 car. No Evo kits, no Joker upgrades or any. I guess there's no Jokers in GT3, but no upgrades on the car. Same car for the most part, at least, that it was back in 2017 and back in its 10th season now, before it finally, hopefully, gets replaced by the. Did they officially announce the name on that? Because that unveil was last week.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Is it called the LFR officially, or the Toyota GR?
Don't know.
Whatever
I
they
think it's going
decide
to
to
be.
call it.
I don't. I saw
I
it.
was
I
under the
can't.
impression that they're going to brand it as a Toyota instead of a Lexus, but
But I thought they were going to brand
maybe
it as a
that's global.
Lexus. Still,
It,
yeah,
in the
still in North
U.S.
America.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Oh,
Um,
also notable in this because he is a very regular on the show is friend of the show Andrew Kissinger, who you see in the chat, is going to be working on one of these GTD Pro cars for the upcoming season, the number 3 Corvette. So as I saw today, he's doing it for Dale
oh, there you
to
go.
to bring it full circle with Daytona and a little bit of NASCAR lore. So yeah, we'll have Andrew maybe dropping in and dropping some tidbits on the GTD Pro battles.
Well, he's also dropping a tidbit on that Toyota GT car. I guess
Oh yes.
officially at the unveil it was called the Toyota GR-GT,
Whoa.
but we'll see for the U.S. market.
What a name. We waited how many years for it to be the GRGT?
Hey, I'm not going to slide it. All right, if we get a new Lexus on the grid or a new Toyota for the first time in 10 years, it's good
True,
enough
that's
for
big
me.
news.
I just
That's
want
big.
it to actually happen. All right, because we're in like the second year or third year now of saying we'll see it next year.
We'll see it next year. Um, GTD time, right?
Sure, largest class
GT,
in the field.
yeah, largest class in the field once again. Still down one entry from last year, but we're still gonna have 21 entries on the grid for GTD. So, um, buckle up. Here we go. We're gonna have 14 full season entries, and then 7 additional entries for the Rolex. You got the 12 Vassar Sullivan Lexus. You got the 13 Autosport, no longer called AWA. They're 13 Autosport now, and that's the Corvette. You have the 16 Myers Riley Ford Mustang, the number 19 Vandister Racing Aston Martin, the 21 AF Corsa Ferrari, the 023 Triarci Ferrari, the 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin, the 28 RS1. I think we
Stu's gone. What happened? We'll get him back. Stu was talking about. Oh, hang on.
edition on here. Oh, are we?
What's going on, man? What's going on
The
today?
Gremlins. The Gremlins are coming after us.
Did we both get? Let us know in the chat if we're both here, because I think we both got booted for a second.
We did. It just went full screen on you on my phone, and I was like, "Whoa,
Oh,
what happened?"
okay.
The 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin. Oh, wait, I already was talking about RS1.
Yeah.
RS1, an addition to the grid there. Conquest Racing, the number 34 Ferrari in GTD. The number 36 DXDT Racing Corvette. The 44 Magnus Racing Aston Martin. Right now, only confirmed for the Rolex for them, but there were some discussions, it sounds like. They're open to doing a more expanded program there. The 45 Wayne Taylor Racing Lamborghini, the 57 Windward Racing Mercedes, the 66 Gradient Racing Ford Mustang, the 70 Inception Racing Ferrari, the 80 Lone Star Racing Mercedes, the 81 Dragon Speed Corvette, yes, the switch from GTD Pro to GTD, and the manufacturer change to Corvette. So a lot of changes there for Dragon Speed. The only other BMW on either of the GTD grids is the 96 Turner Motorsports BMW, the 120 Wright Motorsports Porsche, the 123 Mueller Motorsports America Porsche will also be on the grid for the Rolex 24. And then the 912 Manthey First Form Porsche that notably sees the return of a longtime IMSA bronze driver in Ryan Hardwick, returning for the Michelin Endurance Cup rounds. So quite a quite a quite a full list here in GTD, I will say, and lots of these cars. There's only a handful of them that don't have the full lineups confirmed. So we do have there's a lot of drivers that have been confirmed for these rides.
Yeah, a lot of returning faces there. A couple new teams in the fray as well. Did anybody else notice that the RS1 Porsche just quietly changed their number? Because on the
Oh,
2026 entry list that was dropped at Petit Le Mans, they were listed as the 83 car for the Michelin
oh,
Endurance Cup races.
I wonder if
And now you said they're the what are they,
20.
the 28? Yeah.
Trying to think, was
So
28 used last year?
oh,
I can't think. I
no
can't
idea.
think of anybody that ran the 28. So I know obviously the Heart of Racing uses the 27, but I don't know. Maybe chat can help us out if anybody used the 28 last year. I don't think anybody did though. But yeah, that's interesting. Maybe driver change, or maybe there's a sponsor that they picked up that wanted to have some say in the number. Who knows?
83 is a lucky number at 24-hour races if you look at this year, so I would have kept it, but
Well, the Iron Dames didn't have much luck with it though
well,
in
that's
IMSA
true.
the past few years. So
That's true. Maybe get away from that if you're in a Porsche GT3 car, but
perhaps.
I digress. 28's the number they run a pilot challenge as well, so
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
but does beg the question why it was listed different initially.
Yeah, we'll never find out that mystery. But
Yeah. Anyways,
I
we got more exciting things to talk about
yeah, we
than
do.
to be Sherlock Holmes on the curious case of the number of the RS1 Porsche and GTD.
I don't know. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Couple of the entries that you mentioned on there, Magnus Racing, they noted that they will be taking part in a quote limited endurance schedule, which is kind of par for the course for recent Magnus entries. They'll show up when they want. They'll probably be there at Sebring as well if trends are anything to go by, and perhaps make
Well,
a return later in the year at Petit Le
that
Mans.
it might depend on if their sponsor Virtual Energy comes through for
Well,
them or not. So we'll have
yeah,
to see.
that's the big kicker. I don't know. I'm going to throw it back to you though. Any other thoughts from some of these GTD entries that stand out?
I mean, I was trying to think of some, and there's not a whole lot. One of the things that I'm disappointed in is we don't see a full season Ferrari again in GTD Pro. After we saw the effort that we saw from Dragon Speed last year, unfortunate that we're not going to have that championship battle continue, but Dragon Speed making the switch to GTD is I think everybody will be certainly fine with that. And one of the things that stands out for me is the lack of BMWs that we have on the grid. I think a lot of this kind of boils down to we were kind of expecting Random Vandals to have at least one entry on the grid this year, and then that didn't end up coming together. So we're kind of just stuck with the one Paul Miller Racing BMW, a car and a team that has won how many races over the past few years with that BMW M4. And then you also have the 96 Turner Motorsport BMW. So you still have two very strong horses in the GTD and GTD Pro ranks, but a little bit surprised to not see more BMWs on the grid. Although it's kind of wild to think about. I guess the BMW is one of the older cars now that we have on the IMSA grid. I think they debut that M4 debut in 2021, or was it 2020? It might have been 2020. But
Well, yeah, but we're talking with an Evo car now.
yes. But I don't know. I'm just kind of surprised to not see more BMWs there.
Yeah, well, I hope we do see the addition. I know Random Vandals was noted they might show up at the end of the season, like Petit Le Mans. Hopefully, 2027 we see them as a more full time entrant. I would have loved to see that team on the grid, whether it was one car or two. I know both of them were sort of talked about more towards the summer months, and then around Petit Le Mans, those discussions died out. But yeah, I guess we still have one Paul Miller Racing car on the grid. And Andrew,
Yep.
if you want to ruffle the feathers of some of your drivers now in the 3 Corvette, we can have some fun. We can get the 3 for 3 on the Augusto Farfus versus Corvette drivers, and that can have some. We'll get our viral moment and viral tweet for 2026 out of the way early again.
But we're not going to get Farfus on the grid,
That's true. Yeah,
so it's
that's the.
unfortunate.
We'll just do a Paul Miller Racing versus Corvette, or just any BMW versus Corvette works. How about that?
Let's just stoke that fire. We're just
Turner
gonna
can,
make
yeah,
it
Turner
happen.
can get in the mix. Turner, you can start beef with Dragon Speed. Anything works.
Start beef with Dragon Speed. Okay. Let's.
Oh, why not? I think
What?
Turner and Dragon Speed are early shouts for me. I think both of them are going to be strong contenders in 2026. So
Yeah, maybe. Well, we got to save our predictions for closer to the season, but
yeah, they can both toss their seasons in the bin right now. That's not happening for them.
yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to mention on this list. We have the list. There it is. And now we're just waiting for a few more names to trickle in, and before you know it, the Rolex is gonna be around the corner.
Yeah, only a month and a half
Oof.
away. Has it dawned on you yet? I know you've been taking your little short break from YouTube. Like
Oh, it's
you
been
know, my
longer than a
my
short break.
my break is not quite short anymore. My break has been going for 11 months. Let's not talk about it. We'll be back. and and anyways, back to my
Hope
point. Has that dawned on you? 8 videos you got to have prepared up?
Yes, it has certainly dawned on me. I think I'm getting back on the horse now. Was doing some editing before we got on. Hopefully that'll be out tomorrow. But
Ooh.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm a little rusty at this. I forgot where some of these things are. So, so it's good, get back in the swing of things before when we turn into January, it is like full speed ahead. So that should
Yeah.
be fun.
We're both a little rusty. I figured out why my mic was off at the beginning of the episode. I had the wrong input selected, so
Brilliant. We
we'll
talked
get
about
used to
how
it.
my camera's a little laggy right now. So, we're just working through some of the off-season bugs, right? This is off-season testing for us. So,
Yeah, we're on our going into our third year with the program. We're still having problems with the car, and
yeah.
it
No,
is
we
what
have
it
an
is.
Evo. It's an Evo this
Yeah, and
year.
our Evo is coming next January. All right.
Yeah, yeah. We're still trying to get it homologated.
Yeah.
Aaron
Um.
asked Aaron asked if before we transition to the WEC,
Yeah.
he asked if we're going to Daytona. I am going to Daytona. Are you going to Daytona?
I have the flights booked. Now, here's the
Ooh,
thing. I also had flights booked for Petit Le Mans, so take it with a little grain of salt. But I do plan on being there right now. Yes.
brilliant,
So
brilliant.
1 year off. I do love going to Daytona though. It's just I gotta tell you, it's such an easy 24-hour race to attend as a fan. And I don't say that to discredit the race at all. The race is extremely exciting and a lot of fun to go to, but it's just a very, I don't want to say relaxing, but it is kind of an easygoing
Relaxing.
24-hour race to watch as a fan. I'm sure if you're working on the stand or working as a mechanic, you'd want to punch me in the face for saying that. But
we
that's my
just
experience
lost we
behind the
just
catch
lost half
fence.
our viewers right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
they're
lost
gone.
half of them.
There was another question earlier on, further up in the chat, so apologies if I can't see who asked it, but somebody was asking about Neil Yanni and if he'll be on the grid at the 24, of course, with Proton departing. No entry confirmed right now for Neil Yanni. I'm sure he'll have his hands busy because he is a test or simulator driver, rather, for the new Audi F1 program. So whatever commitments are involved there, I don't know what they're working on at the end of January, but if he's not at the 24, I'm sure he'll have some things that he's working on.
There we go. Neil Johnny.
Yeah, we've got an appearance from Often the Esses dog as well as we
Oh,
switch over to the WEC entry list. Always excited.
woof woof.
Well, guess what? We got 35 entries to discuss in the
Woof.
WEC for 2026. Remember when we were talking about how are we going to fit a 40 car grid? Yeah, what happened to that? I guess 2027 we're going to have 2 Fords and 2 McLarens, and then hopefully if we don't lose anybody else, then we're talking 39. So we'll get close to it again. But for next year, 35, it's down 1 entry from this year. But we do have 14 manufacturers across both of the classes, and that's 17 hypercars and 18 in LMGT3. Of course, hypercar, couple of notable omissions here. We're talking about the loss of any Penske, or not any Penske, any Porsche 963s from the grid next year. Penske was already confirmed out, at least in a factory capacity. Talked about that enough. And Proton was definitely up in the air. We were speculating, will they be there? Will they not? Will Penske foot the bill for a second car potentially as a privateer? No, you will not be seeing any 963s on the grid in the WEC next year, and therefore, unfortunately, no Porsches on the grid at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Big shame to me.
Yeah.
Super close to picking up that victory at Le Mans this year, and I gotta tell you, I think they had one in the bag if they just stuck with it, but
No. Don't make it worse for the Porsche fans.
them's the way it is. Listen, I know some really big Porsche fans. I come from a family of Porsche fans, so disappointing pill to swallow. And the good news, I guess, on the other side of that is we will see the introduction of Genesis Magma Racing, of course, with their GMR 001 hypercar, which has still been out testing. Additionally, they will be fielding cars 17 and 19 there. We did get the full entry list or the full Driver lineups for those cars confirmed. In the 17, you have Andre Lauderer, Pipo Derani, and Mathieu Jobert. And in the 19 car, picked from Porsche, Mathieu Jaminet, Paul-Loup Chatin coming over from Alpine, and Danny Juncadella coming up from sort of his time racing and GT Corvettes. Pretty strong driver lineup across the two of them there. You've got a big mix. You've got some young guns. You've got some veteran drivers in there like Andre Lauderer. It's kind of crazy to say Pipo Derani's a bit of a veteran prototype driver at this point as well, but he's been on the scene for a good number of years now. And across the board, I think it's going to be a strong, exciting lineup to look at.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's going to be excited to see the orange and black, those orange and black Genesis GMR 001s hit the track. Interesting that they're the only cars here that have hypercar in their name. The 001 hypercar. So, but yeah, I mean, who can't be excited for this? I didn't realize that Paul-Loup Chatin is only a gold driver as well. So, a gold, and they have a silver driver.
Yeah.
Yep. Jobert. That's wow.
Well, Jobert is the real young gun in that car. So
okay, fair enough. Yeah. But wow, I was not expecting to see a silver driver driving in hypercar or GTP in like a full season capacity. So I guess that'll be a fun story to watch as the season goes on. Like how does Jobert handle that, and how does he evolve as a driver? And I mean, he's going to have a pretty low pressure situation, I suppose, with it being Genesis. Oh no, we're going to have the same issue.
Just say Genesis's, man. Just do it.
Genesize.
Nope, don't try it. Genesis's.
The Genesis's. It'll be interesting to see how they get on and see if they can, follow a similar trajectory that Aston Martin and the Valkyrie did last year. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be one of the big storylines that we're going to follow all season long. That, of course, not having the Porsches on the grid. And but other than that, I mean, it's virtually unchanged, the cars that we're going to see on the grid. Is Toyota due to bring a new car? Is that
well, they're bringing their Joker upgrades for next year. So a little bit of a different look on that Joker car. Yeah, we did talk about that, or we showed even images of that in a previous episode.
Yes.
Because that car has been around in its current form for a while. I believe they had a Joker upgrade before 2023, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah,
the car itself has been around, of course, since the start of 2021. Old guy on the block, I guess.
It is. That's the senior car out there, I suppose.
Yeah, and definitely looking for a big turnaround on their 2025 season. I guess if you exclude Bahrain, which couldn't have gone much better, but
that was their salvaging moment, I guess, of the season.
Yeah. A couple other notables for the hypercar class for next year. We are still waiting for Alpine to confirm their remaining drivers in both cars. We did get confirmation that Mick Schumacher and Paul-Loup Chatin were leaving. Of course, we already mentioned Chatin is going over to Genesis. Mick Schumacher has been confirmed for Rahal in IndyCar, I believe, for 2026. So he'll be off stateside, back in some open wheel machinery. Peugeot, we still are waiting to hear who their driver lineups are going to be in both cars. We know the 6 drivers that they're going to have, but we don't know which each car will look like. The only confirmations we have right now are Paul di Resta in car 93 and Loic Duval in car 94. And then finally, the 83, of course, a Ferrari, this year's Le Mans winners. We are still waiting to hear about the remaining 2 drivers in that lineup as well. As it stands right now, only Ye Yifei lined up in the 83 car for next year. Still waiting to hear if we'll see the return of Robert Kubica or Phil Hansen. But as you mentioned, otherwise, it's a pretty, I'll say, consistent hypercar class from what we saw this year. One manufacturer out, one manufacturer in. You're going to see some additional changes for that class in 2027. But in the meantime, a largely similar look for that class.
Yeah, one notable addition as well that I know we talked about in a previous show, but I think it's worth mentioning again. In the 38 Cadillac, you're going to have Jack Aiken, who's doing double duty between the
Yep.
31 in IMSA and then also the 38 here in the WEC. Jack has quickly emerged, at least stateside, as a very strong and promising driver. So Cadillac looking to get him into a bunch of races next year and do some double duty between GTP and the hypercar class. So it should be interesting to see how he tackles that heavy program load next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Is that the first time we've seen a proper double duty run
No, well, we've seen the Aston
in a
Martin
top
guys
class?
last year.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah, we saw at least DeAngelis, and I can't remember who he paired up with full season in IMSA. But I guess you could also argue that wasn't the full season. They didn't do the roll. Although all those drivers did the Rolex just in the GTD Pro cars. So, yeah, I guess we've seen it before, but it's going to be interesting. We have is there there's a conflict with GTP and hypercar. Is it Long Beach and Spa? I don't remember.
Either that or it's Long Beach and Laguna Seca.
Or Laguna
Or sorry,
Seca.
no, Laguna Seca and Spa, sorry.
Yeah.
Because I think
Yeah,
what it was this year.
because the CTMP Sao
Yeah, because
Paulo conflict doesn't impact
and
GTP. So
Spa's in May and
yeah, Laguna is as
Long Beach
well.
is in April. So yeah, it would be Laguna Seca and Spa.
Yeah.
Earl Bamber did the double
Oh
last year
yes.
between IMSA and the WEC. Good shout
Yeah.
on that.
True.
Wish I had
Earl.
that good a
Earl just
memory.
going
I'm
under
just
the
not good at
radar.
yeah. I'm not good at picking up the details like that. Also, looks like Imola and Long Beach will be clashing indirectly. So I assume that
Mm.
means Imola on Sunday and Long Beach on Saturday is what you mean by that. Which I guess means there's not a clash between Spa and Laguna Seca next year.
Perhaps, but there's still conflicts because despite convergence and all the buzzwords that we like to use, they still can't figure out how to fit like 15 or 16 races nicely onto a calendar.
Well, what you're almost certainly going to see there then is you're just going to see the 38 run a two-car lineup at
Yeah,
Imola.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because Imola's 6 hours.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a 6 hour. They'll just do a two-car
Yeah.
lineup or a two-driver
Okay.
lineup.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Is it
Anything else stand
LP
out for
time?
you before we move
I,
on to?
yeah, no, I think that those are some of the notables. Like it would be nice to have some more of these drivers for as you mentioned, Alpine, the customer Ferrari, Peugeot, but these are all going to come out in due course. The WEC season start is, I think it's still right around Sebring, right? Or is it
A little bit
it's a little
before
bit a couple
Sebring.
weeks earlier?
Yeah,
So they have a fair. Their off season is just getting underway, really. So we'll still plenty of time to see how those lineups fill out. And
yeah. And
speaking of not knowing driver lineups, LMGT3 is even worse.
yeah, you tossed me the segue there. I'm going to say one more comment about hypercar is you will be seeing a couple of new faces on some of those cars as well. We've already seen on-track testing with the new BMW Evo kit.
Yep.
The new Cadillac that we saw testing at Daytona, you'll be seeing that car in the WEC as well. So despite the fact that we only have one manufacturer out and one in, you will be seeing a bit of a different look for some of the other cars on the grid next year as well.
Ford
And yeah,
also has an yet to be homologated. The I guess it's an Evo, technically that they'll be bringing.
in GT.
Maybe it has to do with that muffler that kept catching on fire.
Oh, they had multiple problems with that.
That they did.
Yeah, let's move on to LMGT3. There are a couple of changes here as well, although we do have the same number of cars and manufacturers as we saw in 2025. Out for next year are the United Autosport McLarens. Talked about that, I think, in the last show. Um, United Autosport, of course, will be spearheading the hypercar program for 2027. So they're out next year in the LMGT3 class. In their place will be the number 10 and the number 58 Garage 59 McLarens. Uh, don't know why we picked number 58 for for that class, but all right. Also out is the Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin. In their place will be another Aston from the Heart of Racing. We have the 23 car joining the sister car there. And finally out, which I think will be a disappointment for a lot of people, is the Iron Dames Porsche. And in their place is the 91 Manthey DK Engineering Porsche. So sort of going back to what we saw in 2024 with the two Manthey customer racing Porsches that are under the Manthey name, at least, because I know Iron Lynx was, or Iron Dames rather, was also operated by Manthey. But you'll be seeing 91 and 92, just like we saw in 24. One more change that is worth noting is the TF Sport Corvette, the second one. Car 82 from this year will be transformed into the number 34 Racing Team Turkey by TF Sport Corvette. Already a name that we've seen racing in the Asian Le Mans series. They have, I don't know if you've seen this, but a fantastic livery on that car. Sort of
Oh yes.
not really a chrome red, but a shiny red livery on that car. Not similar to what we've seen with AWA when they raced that Maple Leaf car last year. But yeah, I'd say more of a chrome red. What's the word I'm looking for here? There's a shade that describes the red, but I'm not going to get into it because
Maroon?
no, it's not maroon. I was thinking that. I don't know. Somebody get an exec from Crayola in here. We'll figure it out.
Let's get it a Crayola exec.
Yeah.
Crayola sponsor the show.
Yeah, if I figure it out. Well, Crimson? That, you know what? That works. Someone in the chat saying Crimson. I think that's a good shout. We'll go with that.
Yeah,
The Crimson Red Chrome Corvette. I'd love to see that livery in the WEC as well, although I don't know if it's been confirmed, but I guess we can expect to see that livery racing next year here as well.
So one of the things that we don't see with a lot of these, I mean, there's a fair number of lineups. The Corvettes, the two Corvettes notably as well, don't have their bronze drivers confirmed. And thinking back to the IMSA entry list, we didn't have Ben Keating in a full season ride. Ben Keating is, I think he's just doing a one-off in LMP2 for Daytona. But I assume that we'd probably see Ben Keating back in that, that 33 TF Sport maybe, but or was he what number was he in last year? Was he in the 33?
No, he would have been, let me look
or was
this
it like
up.
in the 20s, like 27 or 28?
No, it wasn't. I was just looking that up. He was in the 33 last year.
Okay. So maybe, Ben Keating returning to TF Sport. It would be weird to see
80. Go ahead, finish what you're saying.
I was just going to say it'd be weird to see him not with a full season ride, either in IMSA or the WEC.
Yeah, that would be a bit of a story on its own. I believe I said the 82 car last year. I meant 81. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, to your point, there are definitely still some unnamed drivers in the GT3 class for next season. So expect some more of those confirmations over the next few weeks. I guess we have a couple months still before those entries need to be fully fledged out. We're not talking about a race in 7 weeks here, but yeah. I don't know. Any other notables in GT3 or LMGT3 that you want to talk about before we hop over to some questions?
No, I don't think so. Like it's hard to talk about a lot of these lineups when we don't know what the full lineups actually look like yet. I think it's a good thing that we see Mercedes sticking around on the grid, at least for another year. Who knows with, the additional hypercars, I guess McLaren notably joining the grid next year, what what that's going to do to their status in the LMGT3 class. I guess you kind of look at Porsche in the same light as well, and now they don't have a hypercar on the grid. But yeah, good to see Iron Lynx continue on. Hopefully, we can see them and the Mercedes, take that step forward, kind of like we saw with the Lexus last year. Lexus
Yeah.
had a really tough first year and then bounced back with a much stronger year last year. So hopefully we can see Mercedes do pull something similar and be in contention for podiums at on this world stage. That's something that it did kind of suck a little bit to see them as pretty well constant backmarkers last year and in virtually every race with the success that we know that AMG has had in its life. So hopefully we'll see some Mercedes battling for podiums this year.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to talk about the exact same thing. I think Mercedes, you can draw a lot of comparisons to Lexus from their first season.
Yep.
And Mercedes did end out the season strong at Bahrain, sort of similar to what Lexus did in their first season as well. And Lexus really hit the ground running for 2025. So, talking about Iron Lynx, you're talking about a Mercedes GT3 car has a massive presence in the worldwide GT racing scene. I don't see any reason why they won't be able to step up next year as well. We know that car is going to be, I guess we would have expected it to be a little bit slow at the start of the season for obvious reasons that we're not going to get into from last year with it being a new car on the grid. Next year, they're not going to have that hurdle at the start of the season. I'm hoping that we can see them sort of take up the same position that Lexus did in this season.
Yeah.
All right.
Question time.
It is question time. I'll start at the bottom here just because that's the first one I saw. What are your thoughts on the new Lexus GT3 for 2027? Yeah, as long as we actually get it, which I'll keep making a joke about it until they actually do it. But I really, really like the way that car looks. Say what you will about the current Lexus that we have in IMSA and the WEC. I don't think it's a bad looking car. It definitely sounds good, but it's been around for a long time. Like, I got to think I was 15 years old when that car debuted, which is insane. So to see a new car on the grid, a new face, a new look for Lexus or Toyota, whatever it's branded as, to me, is already a good step. Also nice to hear that we'll be still continuing with a good sound in that car as well when we get the new car out. Yeah, that's it to me. I really like the way it looks. Hopefully Toyota doesn't change the road car. I'll say that because Toyota has a history. Don't know if you've noticed this, but with road cars, they will unveil a concept and it'll look really good, and then they'll change it and just make it a little bit worse. And they did that with the Supra because the Toyota concept for the Supra was the FT1. And you can look it up and see what that looks like compared to the actual production Supra. As long as Toyota doesn't touch the concept that they showed last week, I'm happy.
Yeah, it is a good looking car, and with the Mercedes, like there's the new Mercedes that's in the works too, right? So we could lose that, that look on the grid with a really long front end, and we're not going to lose that as it is right now with the new Lexus, that hood that you could,
Take a nap
build
on it.
house a small village on, it seems like. So
Yep.
yeah, so it's definitely a unique look, and it's not going to sound quite as good as the Mercedes or the current Lexus, but hey, it's gonna look darn good on track.
Well, and it's also cool that you mentioned the front engine aspect of that car because for a while in the GTE racing scene, we started to step away from the originality of each car in favor
Yeah.
of just more pace, more performance. Like Porsche had the whole controversy with the 911 RSR where it was like the engine was technically in front of the rear axle, so it was technically mid-engined. Corvette, of course, on their road car switched from front engine to mid-engine, so that
Yep.
people would joke that looks like a Ferrari now, or it looked like the NSX. It is great that we have manufacturers that are still committing to this front engine rear wheel drive formula. Get some diversity on the grid, and I guess it shows that the balance of performance is doing its job in the GT racing classes, that we can have that diversity, and it still is a very competitive car, at least if you want to look at the 10-year-old RCF as an example.
Well, and the Mercedes or the BMW is also a front engine car as well.
Yep.
So yeah, you do. Yeah, that, you know what, that's a really good point. We're not seeing with Ford. We're not seeing with the massive, well, with manufacturers coming out with like new cars every few years and that cycle being very quick. At least we're not seeing all the manufacturers jump to one, style of car and then it just becoming a very cookie cutter looking class. It is good. It's cool that we can still have very unique and different looking cars on the grid, like the McLaren with those doors as well. Like, some very unique cars in GT3 racing, and that's one of the things that makes it cool for fans to be engaged with, right?
Yeah, 100%. What happens if Lamborghini SC63 comes back in 2027? Why don't you take this one? You've got some good ideas on that.
Well, what if the Lamborghini comes back in 2027? I assume this is to the WEC. I mean, if it tries to come back to the WEC, I think the easy answer is they won't be back in the WEC. If they try and come back to IMSA, I mean, I think IMSA would welcome them with open arms. It would be a customer program, but maybe the most likely thing that happens with the Lamborghini SC63 is that it goes to the Asian Le Mans series, where you can race whatever hypercar / LMDH your heart desires. So if the SC63 goes to the Asian Le Mans series, I'll be first in line at the merch tent virtually.
Okay, I was going to say,
I'm
what
not
race
flying
are you
all the way
going
across
to?
the world for an Asian Le Mans series race, which the Asian Le Mans series starts up this weekend, actually. So
yeah, we could have no off season if we just start talking about the Asian Le Mans series on this podcast.
we could, but I think we'll only start talking about the Asian Le Mans series if the SC63 joins it. So I think that's the rule.
BBM Sport took delivery of the wingless 9X8s. I might be a fan now. I might be invested.
I mean, yeah, I guess we still have another year before the hypercar class, or what are they calling it, a hypercar class in there? Before that class actually joins the grid. So, but who knows? Maybe we'll see some old Porsches join there as well.
I'm still looking down the grid of questions. Great question for Stu and Chris. Do you think the 2026 Rolex 24 will have the strongest lineup ever in history? Ooh. Good question.
That's tough.
Across the four classes.
Well, the easy answer is no, because there's no SC63 on the grid.
Is that your final answer?
No.
Is that how you're going to take this one?
No, it's not. No.
I'm going back down the years. Hey, look, I made a tweet the other day. 2025 F1 World Champion Lando Norris was racing in the Rolex 24 back in 2018. Finished 32nd in that race. Yeah, Lance Stroll had some outings there. Alonso was in the car with Norris. True. I'm just talking about F1 drivers. Let me take the jacket off. I'm such a company man at this point. It's tough to think about because we used to have, with the GTLM class, we had like true factory platinum driver lineups. I'm thinking back when we had the Ford GT and the Corvette C7. Well, we still do have Corvette, of course. But the Porsche North America GT team, a lot of those drivers, yes, have gone up to race in GTP now. Or elsewhere, or they're just in another GTD Pro or GTD car. I think it's close. I'll say that.
Yeah, I am going to, maybe it's controversial, but I'll say yes. And I think I'm more leaning towards the depth throughout the field that we have. Um, like you look at especially these pro classes and between GTP and GTD Pro, the depth that we have in both of those classes, we it's been a long time since we've had that depth, if we've ever had that depth at both the pro prototype and pro GT ranks. So I'll I'll tentatively say yes. I mean, you look up and down the lineup, like the grid for IMSA here, and there's a lot of former 20 former Rolex 24 winners. Whether it be from the past few years or whether it be from like AJ Allmendinger, for instance, being how many ever years ago, and um, yeah, yeah, this is tough. There's a lot of very 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 talented drivers in the field.
Well, let me help you out a little bit. I'll swing it one way here. We have what I would say arguably the best GTP slash hypercar driver in the world on the grid at Daytona next year. You want to hazard a guess who that is?
Who's that?
You're not even going to try to guess?
No.
Kevin
Mostly
Estre.
because oh, Kevin Estra. Not
I
on the
mean, he
grid
is the
here.
go-to guy that a lot of people have looked at, not just in GTP cars, but also in GT previously. I guess even still in GT with the drives that he puts in at the Nürburgring 24 or other, top-ranked GT races. He is like the guy that I think a lot of people will point to. So to have him on the grid next year at the 24, I know it comes at the cost of a WEC program, but that'll be very exciting to see. Almost guaranteed shoe-in,
Yep.
I'd say, to have him in the car at the end of the race. And if that's
Yep.
the case and he's in second or third chasing someone down, that'll be a lot of fun.
That it will. You're right. That it will. That's a good point. Look at Andrew Kissinger says Stu flying to Dubai to watch the wingless 9X8 versus the SC63 and the Glickenhauses. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can't forget about Van Wall. Van Wall, they're still working on that car to get back out on the grid. So we're gonna see them back out there with Jacques before too long.
Yep. Or we can send you to Sepang, I guess.
Oh yes, Sepang is this
And
weekend. Yeah,
yeah.
the
Uh,
better odds of happening. SC63 comes back or Stu drives a GT3. Oh, it's definitely Stu drives a GT3. Maybe drives in a GT3
on iRacing.
on iRacing. Yeah.
We're gonna make that happen at some point. Like we've been on this show for long enough. We gotta set up an IMSA endurance race and just see see if our money's where our mouth is.
Oh boy, the rusty. I got we're going off now, but I got a championship trophy from
Oh,
an endurance league that we ran last year. So, get all the guys that I race with will be going to the Glen this year, and definitely having some ice cold water out of the top of this thing.
yeah, it's like the Stanley Cup you got there.
Yeah, exactly. There's another one that's further up behind me. It's pretty crazy. These trophies came in the other day, and it's like, what the heck arrived today?
Early Christmas gift.
Exactly.
Mr. Waffles late showing up today. That's not a problem. We've got hour and 9 minutes for you to catch up on. We're wrapping up the show now, unfortunately. But how about the GRGT? We already did talk about that a little bit ago. Quick thoughts from me, though, just to repeat. Happy to see a new Lexus slash Toyota in the GT class.
Yes.
Curling champ and iRacing champ. What can't he do?
Oh, here's Aaron just pumping me up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see Aaron on the grid with at Daytona with a GT3 program in addition to his TCR that he's been run. We'll hopefully Aaron,
Yeah. That'd be
let's see
fun.
a big 24 win.
Yes. All right. What do you think for us tonight? You think that's good enough to call it an episode? We're actually under an hour and a half, which is
An hour and 10 minutes is a
rare.
little bit short for us, but it's probably about the sweet spot for tonight. I think
Yeah.
we've discussed most of the big news that we've had in the sports car racing world. So
Well, we've
let's
missed a lot of it, to be fair. I mean, we
well,
could have been here for another hour and told you every
well,
driver confirmation.
nobody wants to hear that.
Not from us, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, we're going to leave it there for now. Next episode, which should be on the 23rd, take it with a grain of salt. I know you
Yeah.
and I are historically horrendous in the off season getting these shows on proper schedule. But the day before Christmas Eve, we should be here. I'll probably, get some festive stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
We will be talking about our annual awards, the prestigious awards that we give out. There is no physical award. We don't actually have the budget for the trophies like you have over there.
Maybe next year. Maybe we can get
Yeah,
Crayola to sponsor us, and then we can like draw the car on for them up
make it
top.
happen. I'll
Then,
draw some pictures and just ship them out to the teams.
oh yeah, they would
But
love that.
our notables for the 2025 season, our favorite drives of the season, standout drivers, favorite storylines that have come out. All of that will be in the next episode. We'll try to get the chat involved as well, get some of your opinions, and should have some fun with that. So, hope to catch you in 2 weeks. Closing thoughts from you?
Closing thoughts for me. No closing thoughts for me, which is
Great.
wild.
Great. Anyways, that's it. Hope to see you in 2 weeks for another episode of the Rain Race Podcast. Till then, take care.